Welcome back guys, you're here with Harry, and in this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on why ADA is worth more than the US dollar from a value-based standpoint. Before we get any further, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, then be sure to do so to gain immediate access to more content like this. So you may have heard before that the US dollar used to be backed by gold, and that in the early 1970s, 1971 to be precise, the government decided to abandon the gold standard, and so since then the United States dollar, the global reserve currency, hasn't actually been exchangeable for anything of value. Let's take a second to consider the term intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is not only the most important term in investing, but it's actually the basis for all forms of sound money. You see, for those who don't know, the term intrinsic value can be defined as a quantifiable value belonging to an object in question, which is independent of the object's current use. So for example, let's take the most simple kind of money, and by the way, it's a fairly common misconception that only government-issued currency can legitimately be called money. And of course, this is simply false. Actually, anything which facilitates an exchange of value by acting as a medium for exchange can be called a currency. So anyway, the system of bartering is the most primitive monetary system. And while bartering is obviously unscalable to a point which could be advanced enough to support our modern civilizations, the bartering system has been around since the dawn of humanity and continues to be an effective medium of exchange all over the world. And again, while the bartering system probably won't be taking over Wall Street anytime soon, the bartering system does have something which exists on a very fundamental level and in many ways makes it superior to and more sustainable than the US dollar. You see, if you and I were to enter into a transaction agreement where I agree to give you my old mobile phone and you in turn agree to exchange that for your headphones, while it isn't exactly cutting edge, the thing is we aren't relying upon anybody else in this transaction. We both know what we can use either product for, and both products have an intrinsic value because while we are using them as currencies in effect, the currency is guaranteed by the value of the product itself. It's a simple yet effective system. The average person may laugh at this observation and think that we are far past those times with our contactless payments and so on, but consider this. The iPhone and the headphones which you and I exchange both had some form of independent value underlying them, and this then validated them as a medium of exchange, meaning that we didn't have to rely upon anybody who wasn't directly involved in the transaction. If we were instead exchanging US dollars for a product, those dollars have no intrinsic value other than the material they're printed on. And you may say, hang on, dollars can be exchanged for the products and services we want, and this is true today. But everybody using dollars or any other fiat currency is at the mercy of a small group of individuals who own the printing press. Let me tell you this, there has never been a currency in human history which has succeeded in the long term which didn't possess some kind of intrinsic value. The thing is, paper currencies work well until something goes wrong. Just ask the poor nationals of Venezuela who watch their life savings evaporate with the breakout of government-created hyperinflation. Now you may wonder where ADA comes into this equation, because ADA, similarly to the US dollar, isn't of itself guaranteed to be exchangeable for something of independent value, and this observation would be fully correct. However, unlike the major fiats, ADA is the currency of Cardano, and Cardano are a project who offer valuable services such as smart contracts and so on. Now this is effectively a business operation, and in order to use Cardano services, one must accumulate ADA, and this in itself gives Cardano an intrinsic value, a reason to be in demand other than its use as a generic currency. On top of this, ADA has what I believe to be a second form of independent value, namely its utility and desirability as an alternative to fiats. In 2021, it seems that society is divided into 100 different demographics, and everybody is always fighting with everybody else about some issue or another. Well, if there's one thing that we can all agree on, Democrats and Republicans, rich and poor, it's that people are frustrated with being pushed around by the government and being lied to. This in itself creates demand for alternative currencies. Even now, blockchain and crypto are still new technologies and not yet in mainstream favor. And when we have a situation where a large number of people feel abandoned and mistreated by their government, and then you have a new technology like crypto which can at least solve some of their problems, in my opinion, the industry is well positioned to experience incredible long-term growth. Now again, this is just an opinion, but within the crypto space there are a number of large projects like Ripple and Bitcoin and so on, which are already fairly well discovered and established. And then on the other side of the coin you have a huge number of projects which are simply not unique or valuable in any way and inevitably bound for failure. And this then leaves a few projects in the middle which aren't so small that they are negligible, but they're not so large that they are already saturated. And some of them I personally believe are undervalued and at the same time provide an effective solution to a widespread problem. Great organizations are built using a good idea, by the right people, and most importantly at the right time. I believe that with the way society is today, most people feel that large-scale change is necessary if things are to get better. But the thing is, most people don't know how or what that change will look like. If you ask me, I'd say that a small part of it is called Cardano. At least check it out before moving on. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, consider subscribing for more content like this.